Tiến sĩ Love sinh năm 1945 ở San Francisco, California. Ông nhận được bằng BS ngành hóa học ở Regis College, Denver, Colorado vào năm 1967. Sau 2 năm phục vụ trong binh chủng thủy quân lục chiến ở Việt Nam, ông trở lại California lấy bằng MS tại UCLA cùng với R.L. Pecksox vào năm 1971. Sau đó, ông chuyển đến Đại học Hawaii. Tại đây, ông đã nhận bằng tiến sĩ vào năm 1974. Ông đã được trao học bổng nghiên cứu của Hội đồng Nghiên cứu Khoa học năm 1975. Ông được bầu vào Viện Sinh học Phân tử của SDSU năm 1983 và Trung tâm Nghiên cứu Biển vào năm 1984. Ông đã thiết lập Trung tâm Phân tích Vết tích vật liệu, viết tắt là TMAC, tại SDSU vào năm 1989 và từng là giám đốc đầu tiên của trung tâm này. Ông được bầu là hóa học gia chuẩn của Viện Hóa học Hoàng gia London vào năm 1978 và nhận giải thưởng Alqua Foundation năm 1983. Năm 1987, ông được bầu làm chủ tịch của Sigma C ở San Diego. Ông cũng được bầu làm ủy viên của Hội Hóa học Hoàng gia London năm 1988. Ông rời SDSU vào năm 1993 để thành lập công ty tư vấn trong lĩnh vực phân tích ký hóa. Ông là tác giả và đồng tác giả của hơn 125 tài liệu nghiên cứu và đánh giá và cũng là đồng tác giả của công trình chuyên đề mang tên Ứng dụng hóa lý của sắt ký khí cùng với R.L. Pecksox vào năm 1978. Và bây giờ, chúng tôi xin mời quý vị cùng chào đón giáo sư tiến sĩ Richard J. Love.
And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Richard Love.
Yes, good afternoon.
It's wonderful to have you on our show again today, and previously that you show a lot and you share a lot of good medical information with our audience. So today we are really excited to hear from you once again.
Yes.
For several weeks that we have hearing a lot about the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, and it's many deaths. It probably over 1,000 deaths already, is it?
That's correct.
Okay. And can you update for us a little of what's being done to stop the spread of this deadly virus?
Well, there is no medication or preventative cure for Ebola. In fact, it's not even known at this time what the vector is, that is, where Ebola comes from, what animal or plant or soil material or whatever it is carrying Ebola. It's thought bats and monkeys may be responsible for Ebola virus, but there is no cure at the present time. So the only treatment really is quarantine. And as you've probably seen in the news, entire countries are closing their borders, particularly West Africa, to prevent the spread of Ebola.
Okay, now if you think someone might have come into contact with this disease, can you tell us some about the first sign of the symptoms that we might see in Ebola infected patient?
Well, it's like a fever symptoms, achy muscles, joints, fever, vomiting, diarrhea, which become,
all of that came at once.
More and more severe.
Okay.
Dehydration is a major problem as well with Ebola.
So what is make this disease so dangerous that it have killed so many people?
Ebola doesn't really care or isn't very particular about the kind of host cell it attaches to. And so it will be able to reproduce via many different kinds of cells in the body. That is, it attacks very many different tissue types. And that is one of the reasons Ebola is so dangerous. That is, it is so efficient at reproducing. The other problem with Ebola is that it, in part, shuts down the host immune system. It tricks the immune system into not reacting to the presence of the Ebola virus. And so the virus then spreads with little or no opposition by the host immune system.
Okay, now when the patient got infected with this virus, now can you see it visualize that it's appear on their skin all over the body?
Well, not so much on the skin, but hemorrhaging.
Okay.
So bleeding from
Non-stop
nose,
bleeding. It's
Yeah.
so hard to
because
stop the bleed.
the patient is hemorrhaging internally because of the disruption of tissue cells, and that leads to hemorrhaging.
Okay.
And that becomes profuse. Dehydration is also a problem. The patient can't keep down fluids, and so the best thing one can do for Ebola patients is intravenous injection
Okay.
of replacement fluids, but that's very little and hardly effective. So the kill rate of Ebola is anywhere from 60 to 90%. That is, the chances are if you get Ebola, you're going to pass away.
Wow, you're gonna die if you got infected.
My worst nightmare, in fact, is airborne Ebola.
Okay. Airborne Ebola now, if you get into a room with some patient, now you can get it too.
Yes,
you breathe in the
because
same air.
The patient,
Okay.
everyone who breathes in and out, breathes out moisture.
Okay.
And in that moisture will be the virus from an Ebola patient. So if you're in the same room with an Ebola patient, there is the possibility that you would get Ebola, as has been found in the medical people in Africa trying to treat Ebola patients. Many of them have died already.
Now, how long is that virus live out in the air when that patient spread it out through when like they sneeze or they through their fluid?
Viruses don't live very long if they're not allowed to reproduce. On average, a day and a half to maybe 3 days.
Wow, a day and a half, that's a long time for
That
virus
is-
to live out in the air.
Well,
open
it is
air.
a fairly persistent virus, yes. But after that, then the virus will die out of its own accord. But that's
Wow.
if it's not allowed to reproduce.
Well, I'm getting sweat when I'm listen to your explanation on the viruses. It's so scary right now.
This is a deadly virus.
It is.
yes.
It is. Okay, that was scary. I was getting scared now. So whenever that you see the patient with that virus, you gotta get away, run away from him. Unless you are a doctor or a nurse.
Well, unless you have proper clothing.
Proper clothing
one
and
of the
all
problems with
the respirator and everything.
Yes, one of the problems with
Okay.
the medical doctors and nurses trying to treat Ebola in
Okay.
Africa is that there is a great shortage even of gloves, medical gloves to help patients. And that being the case, again, if you come in contact with bodily fluids, including
Okay.
perspiration,
Not with skin contact with the patient and not even breathe through just like this, right? You got to have
Exactly right.
something to protect. Okay, now from what I heard that we believe Virafenz can prevent people from getting infected with the viral diseases. And Ebola is indeed. Virafenz prevent us from getting this deadly disease as well?
well, Virafenz contains VFI, humic acid. That's
Okay.
the active ingredient in Virafenz. Now, humic acid is a broad spectrum, all natural viral fusion inhibitor. And what that means is that humic acid will attach to the surface of viruses, particularly the spots on the surface of viruses that the virus uses to attach to host cells. So remembering that all mammalian viruses reproduce by attaching to host cells, if you block those sites on the surface of the virus can't reproduce. And if the virus can't reproduce, it will eventually die out of its own accord, and also will give the host immune system a real boost in helping to combat the virus.
Okay.
Not all viruses susceptible to that kind of treatment, because some viruses like herpes viruses and AIDS virus hide out. They go dormant in various places throughout the body. So they're not trying to reproduce, and so the humic acid won't help kill those viruses. But when those viruses try to reproduce, that's when humic acid steps
prevent
in
them
and prevents their
reproduce.
reproduction. Now, humic acid is broad spectrum. That is, it works against many types of viruses, mammalian viruses.
Okay.
And Ebola is one of those. So yes, Virafenz can certainly greatly help combat Ebola.
Besides Ebola, now what kind of viruses that we should concern more about? Like I heard that West Nile. Can you tell us more about it?
There was a recent case of West Nile virus, I think it was just last week in Santa Ana.
Wow,
California.
in Orange County, in our
Yes.
neighborhood. Okay.
Now, West Nile is a mosquito-borne virus.
Okay.
So that's the vector. That is the way that the virus is carried to people is via mosquitoes. So mosquitoes are relatively easy to eliminate because we know the vector and we know how to treat mosquito infestations. So West Nile virus can be stopped. Something like Ebola, where we don't know the vector, that is, we don't know how it's transmitted to people or how it's carried to people.
Now, a lot of people in our audience have questioned that what doses that Virafenz that they should be taking, and what are the recommended doses to preventive and curative use of Virafenz for this and other viral disease.
Well, for prophylactic purposes, that is to prevent getting sick in the first place,
Okay.
I recommend 1 tablet in the morning, 1 tablet in the evening. Each tablet from Virafenz is 250 milligrams VFI humic acid. So that will help prevent colds, flu, common illnesses. For herpes sufferers, particularly herpes simplex type 2, where people have genital herpes outbreaks,
Okay.
if depending on the severity and the frequency of occurrence of the outbreaks, 1 tablet 3 times a day might be warranted for herpes sufferers. In the case of therapeutic use, that is, if you're already sick, 2 tablets 3 times a day. For example, if you were to feel flu-y in the afternoon, you felt like a cold or the flu was coming on, it usually happens in the afternoon.
Even a regular cold that
Yes.
you can take it, no problem.
Absolutely, because the cold has not only bacterial component,
Right.
but also viral component, rhinovirus,
Okay.
coronavirus. So
Okay.
in that case, as soon as you start to feel sick, 2 tablets right away, and then 2 tablets.
Oh,
3
you can
times
feel
a
it
day.
right away
Yeah.
after you took those.
2 to
Okay.
3 hours.
Okay.
But the next day, you will be sick. But again, 2 tablets 3 times for that day. The day after, you're 100% better.
Okay.
You feel almost symptom-free.
Back to normal.
You still take 2 tablets 3 times a day. The day after, you're 100% better. For the
Okay.
flu, you're certainly free of the. What we found was that an individual could take 320 tablets a day and still be safe.
So many people in our audience often that travel to Asia, okay, probably Vietnam, well, and when the virus H1N1 or bird flu or swine flu have been found over the last couple of years. Now, would our audience benefit from taking this kind of drug to help protect them from this disease?
Absolutely. If I were going to an area where there were known cases of any of those, swine flu, bird flu, avian flu, H1N1, H3N2, H5N7, I would be taking 1 tablet 3 times a day as a prophylactic.
Oh,
to
just
help
to prevent it, even you don't
prevent.
get any. Okay, that sounds wonderful. That's even if now I travel to Vietnam awfully a lot. Okay, and when I heard this product, I probably gonna start using it when I get on the airplane. Now we're gonna get into the same air that we breathe for so many hours, so this is the best to prevent all kind of viruses. The last question that I'm concerned about now, why do you have to choose Be Believe as the distributor to carry on your product?
Well, Be Believe is certainly well known in the community here in Southern California, but also Be Believe is very good venue for distribution throughout Asia. And I must say, having served a tour of duty in Vietnam with the Marine Corps, I certainly met very many nice Vietnamese people,
Okay.
and I do have a certain affinity and like of the Vietnamese people. So if I can help the Vietnamese community, whether it's here in the United States or
Wow.
eventually in Southeast Asia as well, that would be very gratifying to me.
Thanks for being here, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
No, you're certainly welcome.
Thank
My
you, sir.
pleasure.